Good morning, everyone. My name is John McClure, and we're here at First Church Sebring hosting the God at Work series. We're very excited to have you here joining us. Basically, we're simply exploring how business leaders in the community work with God in their in their work, because so often we limit God to just being in church, and that certainly is not true. So these are all folks that have experience with their religious views and God at work in their businesses. So we're delighted to have them with us. I'll introduce them very briefly. First, we have Dr. William Chin from the Chin Dental Clinics, and we have Jessica Hartline from Hartline Insurance, and we also have Ken Stewart from Stewart Construction. Mark Stewart from Stewart Construction. Excuse me. Everybody else knows who you are. I should have too. My apologies, sir. Nothing like a good start here, right? What we're going to do is just have each one of the panelists answer some questions that we'll talk about and just develop thoughts as we go along. The bottom of your screen has a little area for questions. So if you have a question as we go through and you want to participate, feel free to send your question in, and we'll try to make sure to find time to address that as we go along. I would note normally the panel consists of 4 people. Don Elwell was scheduled to be with us today. Unfortunately, Don had a family emergency at home and wasn't able to be here, but we do hope to have Don on a future broadcast. So having said all of that, I think it's time to get started. So Mark, we'll start with you. Okay. And I want to start with you, so I called you Mark, you understand. So, when we talk about God at work, we all have had opportunities for different things in the office that come up, whether it's just being fair with people or even all the way to maybe praying with clients, whatever comes up. So my question to you is, in general terms, how do you see God working in your business? How do you see you working in your business with these sorts of things? And how might that have been affected by the COVID-19 virus as well?
Well, we're a little bit of an anomaly because we're still working. The construction industry is a necessary component right now. If you have a roof, you need somebody to fix it. If your plumbing isn't working, you need obviously that to work as well. So we're staying busy, and our staff is still coming in for 40-hour work weeks. Mm-hmm. So my relationship with God really hasn't changed all that much because of the COVID-19 pandemic. And I feel like we've always been the way we are. God is an integral part of our business. My relationship with Him is paramount in my life. I come in before everybody else in the morning, and I spend time praying every day. That certainly hasn't changed with this pandemic. I kind of feel like it's more what you do as opposed to what you say. With your relationship with God, when you're witnessing or being a Christian, you need to show people instead of tell them too, but showing speaks louder than words. So we try to live that way and behave that way, certainly with our staff, which are the most important part of our business, and our clients as well.
I think sometimes people are far more receptive to watching you than to be preached at, so to speak. So, Jessica, do you have anything that you'd like to comment on with that?
Need the hand sanitizer. I would say, I think one of the things that's always been a focus for me and my business is the community and giving back to the community. I feel like this has opened up so much opportunity for my office team to be able to, when we get on the phone with our customers, really ask them, how are you doing? Being able for me as the agency owner to have a relationship with my staff and be able to check in on them on a daily basis and really have deeper conversations than we've had in the past. And then that getting passed along to the customers as well. So I would say God working in just the relationship building that's going on both in my office and with our customers and our clients.
Okay. We'll all desanitize after.
Sure. Just don't touch your face. You'll be fine. Where isn't he? I mean, he's everywhere. We, as a group, I mean, we meet every morning. We encourage our team to start their morning with early morning success rituals. With me, obviously, I'm reading scripture in the morning every day, meditating, praying, doing exercise, doing everything. I mean, the COVID-19 thing hasn't changed us as far as what we do personally, but how we come to work and the things that we do have changed. I mean, I'm not going to say it hasn't. The business of dentistry, under mandate, we are still open as much as we can, seeing as many emergencies to help relieve the community's emergency rooms, from that burden. We don't want that to be a burden for the emergency room, so that they can be at the forefront of this. But as far as how it's changed things at work, obviously we, this week alone, we've already had to kind of divide and conquer. So some of them are at home with their families, trying to keep everyone safe, and some of them are coming to work still. It has been a bit of a rough change for us, but at the same time, we know and we have faith that it's in God's hands, and what we have to do is have faith. It's one of our core values. Matter of fact, there's 7 core values at Chen Dental, and one of them is being faithful. So it is trying times, but it's good in the sense that it brings us together. I don't know. I'm sure each of you have felt that with your teams as well. Like you mentioned, you have deeper conversations. You have that margin in time, and I think it's important to engage. Whether it's easy conversations or difficult conversations, because we have 28 people, and each of us are going through different stages of that with the COVID, and we can't expect everyone to go through it at the same rate. I've noticed that as well. Me personally, last week was having probably a 48-hour lull, I would call it. Some hard times of just coming to terms with, what my new reality would be, and how are we going to come back to a new normal, if you will. But it's encouraging to know that the team is, coming together, even if we're divided right now. We still stay in contact, thankfully, through Facebook and other platforms to, check on each other and make sure that they're going through the motions, if you will, of how to deal with this as it changes so rapidly. So I'd encourage each of us here, anyway, to take that time, because that's what we have a lot more of these days, to engage where you couldn't before because you're so busy. So it's kind of hitting the pause button on our businesses a little bit, but it's opened up a lot of other opportunities for everyone. So don't miss those, I guess.
I think what you've just stated is maybe one of the most important things of all to come out of this virus thing, and that is we realize suddenly just what is important in life, and we understand that spending time with our families and spending time with others is very, very important. I recently, and I don't know that I introduced myself. If not, I apologize. I'm John McClure, and I'm an attorney here in town. So one of the things that I recently experienced was my son-in-law calling me from New York City, and his best friend had just died. And he had another very good friend on the ventilator who was near death. And we FaceTime every week. And as a result of that, we have gotten a much deeper relationship, oddly enough, that even much deeper than even going to visit face-to-face. Not that I don't miss that horribly, I do. But it's interesting that through this weekly FaceTime, the relationship that we developed. His other friend on a ventilator just died, he told me last week. And when he called me up, he was in tears. He was crying. And it gave me an opportunity to witness through that, because it creates vulnerabilities that we don't always have on a day-to-day basis. And so, I hate that it took a circumstance such as that to create a conversation, but I absolutely believe that God used that time to allow us to be able to talk in such a direct manner, whereas otherwise we might not have been able to. So So let's, Jessica, I'm going to ask you, could you embellish a little bit about deeper relationships and about how COVID-19 has helped you with that, both with your family, perhaps, and your employees, too?
I think with deeper relationships with my office, with my team, because we are all working remotely, the state of Florida, because of all this, relaxed the restrictions, so everybody is able to work from home that wasn't able to previously. So that's been a huge blessing. So we're all able to still work. But every morning we do a conference call. And so that's just a little bit of time for us all to connect with each other and just check in, see how everybody's doing. And then I try to make a point to reach out to everybody individually. One thing I kind of see similarities before a hurricane comes. We get really nervous in the insurance industry, obviously. And a lot of our customers call us, and a lot of them are scared. There is a lot of fear going on. And before hurricanes, I've had opportunities to talk to my customers about why I'm not afraid. And it's opened that door to be able to pray with them and to have those conversations about my faith and where my strength comes from. So I think similarly in this, being able to see that people are really afraid and being able to take that time, have the conversations with them. And it is like an open door right now to be able to share your faith with people because they are searching, they are scared, and they want to know why we're not. Or, I mean, sometimes we are, I'll be honest. It's a little bit of a roller coaster even for us. And I've been vulnerable too with my staff and, let them know it's a roller coaster, but I have faith that God is in control.
Let me ask this question, and the answer may be no. We'll move on to another one. But have any of you had, as Jessica has mentioned, staff come to you questioning with faith issues to say, can we talk about this or that or the other? Has that happened in your business yet?
We're so busy, right? We're just so busy right now that that hasn't happened. I did want to mention that the family portion, where I also have family in New York City, and we've done Zoom conferences with people that in my family that I haven't spoken to in years. So there is that connection that's happening. That had it not been for this situation, wouldn't happen.
Okay. So I guess what we're getting is not just God at work, but God throughout, and I think that's really what we're trying to develop here. God at work is important, and I think this COVID-19 virus has really caused a lot of angst and uncertainty and difficulties with all of us. So, with respect to things that we have observed in the community, I can tell you that. As a school board attorney, for instance, within the school system and all the things that go on in the school system, there is really been quite interesting to look at how things are dealt with in a business learning perspective, and the student learning distance perspective, virtual learning, and we find students competing for time on the computer to learn with their parents who are trying to telecommute and go at work, and there's only so much bandwidth, and somebody else is trying to watch Netflix, and it just creates all sorts of problems. Yet through it all, I think God is in control of it and is able to somehow make it work. Dr. Chen, do you have anything along those lines that you could contribute?
From what I can tell within our organization anyway, is that I know we come from all different walks of life and different religions, if you will, different churches, different beliefs. But during times like this, it's interesting. Of course, we do want to attract people that work with us of a certain belief as well. I mean, it's not like we require it, but if you're a believer, if you walk through my office, I'm pretty sure you could tell that we are. Okay, it's on the wall, as a matter of fact. But through this, I've noticed amongst our own team, some of them witnessing to me. You know, as a leader, it's tough because you think you have to, you know, be the one to kind of just lead them through this. Well, I'm following as well. I mean, I have great people on my team that have witnessed to me through their faith even and their journey, and it's inspiring to me, and it kind of helps me understand that I'm still on track, because sometimes you question it as an owner. I don't know. I mean, I'm constantly checked, I feel. And I encourage that, because sometimes I need that, you know, and to see them, you know, witnessing to each other is kind of the best part. I see that if someone's struggling, there's always someone there to help them. Their team member is going to help pick them up. I try to do that a lot. Sometimes from where I sit, it's tough. I'll be honest with you, because, you know, it's nice where I'm coming from kind of sometimes. But that aside, we're all the same. I mean, we all, you know, get up out of bed. We all brush our teeth. Well, I hope. But you're right. I would hope so. But, like, everyone has a story they can share and be supportive of each other. And I think that's the attitude that, you know, if I don't see that at work, I'd be really surprised. And I guess I kind of take it for granted that we all are strong in our faith, but sometimes we're not. But I know that if I'm not, they're going to be there to pick me up. You know, because we're all, like they say, we're all in it together, but we are in it together through faith as well. I don't think I can carry that burden myself. So I'm glad I have a team, and shout out to my team, because, you know, we're all spread apart right now, but we're still together. So
I think too, when it comes to carrying burdens, the one who carries our burdens the greatest is, of course, Jesus Christ. And it seems like during times of national crisis, we all grow a little closer together. You know, and our faith is more evident with everyone. I hearken back to post 9/11. I mean, we can all remember that and what that was like, and how our faith grew, and remember the flag lapels and everything that you wore. But somehow or other, those things tend to just, well, they wear off, you know, and so I'm seeing a little bit of course, with the COVID-19 thing, it's different. We are all on edge because of lack of some of us of social contact, and the walls only go so far. You know, you bounce off the walls and that sort of thing. But yet, I think God is there through it all. You know, this morning when I woke up, I just prayed to God to show me the direction He would have us to go, and how we might work our way through this craziness. So, let me just ask this question then. Based on what you're seeing now, this wouldn't be fair to ask you, Mark, because of course you've already told us that nothing much has changed at your place. But do you see some of the things that are going on with this COVID-19 virus as being positive in your faith, and as continuing when the virus is hopefully past us, whenever that might be? Can you comment on that, Jessica? That's a hard question, I know. Yeah.
I need to let this coffee soak in just a little bit more.
Let me think about the question. I'm not sure I understand it, but how has it positively?
I'm just saying, from things that have happened,
right,
that the ways your practice has changed, do you see that continuing beyond the current crisis?
Yes. So positivity, you know, one of our core values I think about that came to mind was joyful. And it's tough for me. I mean, you know, the dad figure, you know, tough guy. Not always, but positivity or being joyful. We read the 4-8 Principle by Tommy Newberry, and I recommend everyone read that book, because that's kind of what we need right now. We need to look to God and look for the joyful things and look for the positive things that are coming out of this. It's so easy to kind of fall into that negativity, especially when things seem to be changing in ways that we have no control over. I mean, we just kind of feel out of control, and that's where a lot of that anxiety comes in. But God doesn't, or at least I believe that God hasn't, he's never left us. He's just kind of, in everything. And there are positive ways to deal with this. And you can't do it alone. And so, it's the isolation thing, the distancing thing, it's very tough for people who are touchy-feely, especially. Like some of people are good with that. Just give me a quiet room. And that's fine, too. But for a lot of us, when you're used to hanging out with 28 team members and now you're home with your kids or home alone, it's tough. And so, but there's always some positivity there. And again, like I said, margin and time allows us to just go find him. He's there. He's always there. Whether it's reading a book or getting out into nature, if they'll let you. But in our office, especially with the core values, each one of them is lined up with a book. And so we do a lot of reading, and which at this time seems to be appropriate. And I do encourage people to read that one, the 4-8 principle. And that way, we can look for the positive in all this. We will get through this. There is a new hope, on the other side of this, a new reality that we have to deal with and move on. And each of our experiences are different, but we're all going to come together on this when we're allowed out of our houses again, basically. But there is a positive side to this, and to know and see that. You'll see it everywhere you look, if you will. Look at us being here today. I've never thought that, I'd be invited to sit here. This is out of my comfort zone. I don't know about you, but it's out of my comfort zone. And I just appreciate the invitation because this is an opportunity that I get to interact with people that I don't normally interact with. So, but you got to look at the positive. There's always a lot you can look in the opposite, but positive.
And at the core is always Jesus Christ. That's a good thing. I believe we have a question from the audience.
Yeah, the audience will be me, I guess, speaking it. But the question is, how, as business owners and community leaders, have you seen this impact the community at large? Maybe not just in your business, but as a community at large. What are you seeing out in the community positive that you'd like to share? And I know Mark's on the city council.
Yes, right. He'd be an ideal person to start this one off. So what have you seen in the community that is positive that you think will continue? And I don't mean less traffic as I try to cross the street from my office to Dan's, but something like that.
Well, we haven't met in the city council since this thing started. But I do feel like this time that we're in right now is going to be really healthy for us spiritually. When you're living for God, the times that you grow are the times in the valley. They're not the mountaintop experiences, and that's where we are. And at the same time, there's it's required to have discipline to grow in this time. It's easy to quit doing those spiritual exercises that you're doing when your mind is going 50 different ways, and that's where we all are right now. But I've tried to regiment myself and teach my Sunday school class that this is a wonderful opportunity to grow closer to God, to try to develop those disciplines that we all know we need to do. And the other aspect of that is when you do something for 30 days, it becomes a habit. And we're going to be down for 30 days and probably longer. So if your prayer life is lacking, if you're not reading the Word of God like you should and doing those basic calisthenics of being a Christian, this is a great time to take advantage of that. And as far as the community in general, I think this is also a time frame where people are watching us and they want to see how we react in times of stress, in times of question. And I think that our witness can be stronger now than it ever has been, or in the recent memory, because of that same thing. So I want to be sure that I'm being the ambassador for Christ that I should be during this time, and have compassion, and show the love of Christ, and not words, but by action. So.
Would you care to comment, Jessica? Good.
So one of the areas I think that I have seen and been super impressed by, I have kids that are in school. And one of the ways that the community, just seeing the way the teachers have totally transitioned from teaching in the classroom to thinking of really fun and creative ways to connect our kids, from doing like online talent shows. Just a huge shout out to the teachers, because I think they are really working hard to have a new normal here, and we don't know how long this is going to go on, if it's just temporary or the rest of the school year. But that has been, as a mom, that's been amazing to see. The community coming together in that and trying to connect our kids. And then just when I go for my walks, seeing people that have happy signs out in their yard, that have written on the sidewalk in chalk, just positive signs. So I think as a community, I mean, I love this community, born and raised here. So to see all of us, not necessarily hoarding paper products, but looking for ways to encourage other people, whether it's just a nice sign on the road or just that extra time asking somebody how they're doing. That's been really neat to see in the community.
I forgot what the question was.
What might survive?
So many changes. Yeah. As I'm thinking, I mean, the community has always been, in my opinion, again, I was raised here as well, has always been tight, tight-knit, and watching out for each other, for instance, whether it's a person walking who, in your neighborhood that shouldn't be or whatnot. I mean, my neighbors have gotten a lot closer through this. I mean, we open our doors, even though we're not supposed to be in each other's houses, we can still be in the backyards talking to each other and encouraging each other, checking on each other, making sure they have toilet paper or whatever it is. But, these things are going to last. I mean, it's not like they weren't there. They were always there. Our faith has always been there. Maybe not outwardly, right? But I think more so now than ever, at least in the eyes that I'm looking through anyway. And again, you'll see what you want to see. You'll hear what you want to hear. So just be careful on that, right? So we have a lot of things to look forward to and appreciate right now, even though our lives are different. And I think it is important as a believer to express that, to witness, right, and to do the things you should be doing, not because they're easy, because a lot of times they're not. They're not easy. Getting up and going to work and doing some of those things can be is risky sometimes. I mean, you think about those going in healthcare. Every day they're having to face this thing. And they have to come back to their families and sometimes isolate. And think about isolation for them. I can't imagine. But, we can do our part in any way we can, whether it's praying for them and, looking out for your neighbor or just saying a positive word to someone or smiling. I don't know the last time I can remember the last time we went for a walk last night. And, as you walk down that sidewalk, everyone kind of like, what's this about? Like, there's lanes and things like this, and like invisible lines we have to stay. But you can still look at them and smile. And like I'm not, like exactly. So like you're walking by them and you're like, okay, am I 6 feet away? But you can still smile, make eye contact. Yeah. I think we've always done that, or wave. I mean, I remember the days when I was growing up that everybody waved as they drove by, and I do that, and then people look at me like, "What? Who are you?" Like, I mean, I'm gonna do that more now, but yeah, I just think that there's some things that we're seeing that we haven't seen in a while. And I think we need to do more of that, I guess.
I think you've hit upon a live wire there. We could probably have a whole session on that. It's interesting, at my house anyway, the street we live on, it seems around 6:45 to 7, things start coming to life in the evening, and all the bikers get out and we ride up and down and sit and stop and gossip and catch up on everything and meet the new neighbor that moved in down the street, and we, interestingly enough, she's a single mom with a daughter at home, and she was a Christian, is a Christian, and so we just had wonderful talks about things like that, and so just getting to know people, this gives us an opportunity to get out, see others, and just see God at work. God is at work, and He's at work in our lives, in every aspect of our lives, and He's at work in our lives at work. So it's just been a very interesting discussion I think we've had this morning. I really thank each of you for coming out and adding what you have to it. I hope everyone out there has enjoyed it and has spent some worthwhile time listening about how God is working in the lives of these folks and perhaps in your life as well. So we thank you for tuning in for this week's session, and we look forward to next week. Thank you, and God bless.